good to tame the mind, which is difficult to hold in, and flighty, rushing wherever it listeth. A tamed mind brings happiness. Let the wise man guard his thoughts, for they are difficult to perceive, very artful, and they rush wherever they list. Thoughts well guarded bring happiness. Those who bridle their mind, which travels far, moves about alone, is without a body, and hides in the chamber of the heart, will be free from the bonds of Mara, the tempter. If a man's thoughts are unsteady, if he does not know the true law, if his peace of mind is troubled, his knowledge will never be perfect. If a man's thoughts are not dissipated, if his mind is not perplexed, if he has ceased to think of good or evil, then there is no fear for him while he is watchful. Knowing that this body is fragile like a jar, and making his thought firm like a fortress, one should attack Mara the tempter with the weapon of knowledge. One should watch him when conquered, and should never rest. Before long, alas, this body will lie on the earth, despised, without understanding, like a useless log. Whatever a hater may do to a hater, or an enemy to an enemy, a wrongly directed mind will do us greater mischief. Not a mother, not a father will do so much, nor any other relative. A well-directed mind will do us greater service. Or, flowers. Who shall overcome this earth, and the world of Yama, the lord of the departed, and the world of the gods? Who shall find out the plainly shown path of virtue, as a clever man finds out the right flower? The disciple will overcome the earth, and the world of Yama, and the world of the gods. The disciple will find out the plainly shown path of virtue, as a clever man finds out the right flower. He who knows that this body is like a froth, and has learned that it is as unsubstantial as mirage, will break the flower-pointed arrow of Mara, and never see the king of death. Death carries off a man who is gathering flowers, and whose mind is distracted, as a flood carries off a sleeping village. Death subdues a man who is gathering flowers, and whose mind is distracted, before he is satiated in his pleasures. As the bee collects nectar and departs without injuring the flower, or its color or scent, so let a sage dwell in his village. Not the perversities of others, not their sins of commission or omission, but his own misdeeds and negligences should a sage take notice of. Like a beautiful flower, full of color but without scent, are the fine but fruitless words of him who does not act accordingly. But, like a beautiful flower, full of color and full of scent, are the fine and fruitful words of him who acts accordingly. As many kinds of wreaths can be made from a heap of flowers, so many good things may be achieved by a mortal when once he is born. The scent of flowers does not travel against the wind, nor that of sandalwood, or of tagara and malika flowers, but the odor of good people travels even against the wind. A good man pervades every place. Sandalwood, or tagara, a lotus flower, or a vasiki, among these sorts of perfumes, the perfume of virtue is unsurpassed. Mean is the scent that comes from tagara and sandalwood. The perfume of those who possess virtue rises up to the gods as the highest. Of the People who possess these virtues, who live without thoughtlessness, and who are emancipated through true knowledge, Mara, the tempter, never finds the way. As on a heap of rubbish cast upon the highway, the lily will grow full of sweet perfume and delight. Thus, the disciple of the truly enlightened Buddha shines forth by his knowledge among those who are like rubbish, among the people that walk in darkness. 5. The Fool. Long is the night to him who is awake. Long is 8 mile to him who is tired. Long is life to the foolish who do not know the true law. If a traveler does not meet with one who is his better or his equal, let him firmly keep to his solitary journey. There is no companionship with a fool. These sons belong to me, and this wealth belongs to me. With such thoughts a fool is tormented. He himself does not belong to himself. How much less sons and wealth? The fool who knows his foolishness is wise, at least so far. But a fool who thinks himself wise, he is called a fool indeed. If a fool be associated with a wise man, even all his life, he will perceive the truth as little as a spoon perceives the taste of soup. If an intelligent man be associated for 1 minute only with a wise man, he will soon perceive the truth, as the tongue perceives the taste of soup. Fools of little understanding have themselves for their greatest enemies, for they do evil deeds which must bear bitter fruits. That deed is not well done of which a man must repent, and the reward of which he receives crying and with a tearful face. No, that deed is well done of which a man does not repent, and the reward of which he receives gladly and cheerfully. As long as the evil deed done does not bear fruit, the fool thinks it is like honey, but when it ripens, then the fool suffers grief. Let a fool, month after month, eat his food like an ascetic, with the tip of a blade of kusa grass, yet he is not worth the 16th particle of those who have well weighed the law. An evil deed, like newly drawn milk, does not turn suddenly, smoldering like fire covered by ashes. It follows the fool. And when the evil deed, after it has become known, brings sorrow to the fool, then it destroys his bright lot. Nay, it cleaves his head. Let the fool wish for a false reputation, for precedence among the bhikshus, for lordship in the convents, for worship among other people. May both the layman and he who has left the world think that this is done by me. May they be subject to me in everything which is to be done or is not to be done. Thus is the mind of the fool, and his desire and pride increase. One is the road that leads to wealth, another the road that leads to nirvana. If the bhikshu, the disciple of Buddha, has learnt this, he will not yearn for honor. He will strive after separation from the world. 6. The wise man, Pandita. If you see an intelligent man who tells you where true treasures are to be found, who shows what is to be avoided, and administers reproofs, follow that wise man. It will be better, not worse, for those who follow him. Let him admonish, let him teach, let him forbid what is improper. He will be beloved of the good. By the bad, he will be hated. Do not evildoers for friends. Do not have low people for friends. Have virtuous people for friends. Have for friends the best of men. He who drinks in the law lives happily with a serene mind. The sage rejoices always in the law, as preached by the elect. Arias. Will makers lead the water wherever they like. Fletchers bend the arrow. Carpenters bend a log of wood. Wise people fashion themselves. As a solid rock is not shaken by the wind, wise people falter not amidst blame and praise. Wise people, after they have listened to the laws, become serene, like a deep, smooth, and still lake. Good people walk on whatever befall. The good do not prattle, longing for pleasure, whether touched by happiness or sorrow. Wise people never appear elated or depressed. If, whether for his own sake or for the sake of others, a man wishes neither for a son, nor for wealth, nor for lordship, and if he does not wish for his own success by unfair means, then he is good, wise, and virtuous.
Hello?
You are there among men who arrive at the
Oh,
other shore.
hi, TA Cindy.
The other people
I want to
here
change my
run
name.
up
Fuck
and
that.
down the
Fuck that
shore.
too.
Talking ape.
But those who
You were talking ape,
wisely
girl?
well preach to them, follow the law,
No.
will pass across the dominion of death, however difficult to overcome.
Not no more.
A wise man should leave the dark state of ordinary life and follow the bright state of the bhikshu. After going from his home to a homeless state, he should, in his retirement, look for enjoyment where there seemed to be no enjoyment. Leaving all pleasures behind and calling nothing his own, the wise man should purge himself from all the troubles of the mind. Those whose mind is well grounded in the 7 elements of knowledge, who, without clinging to anything, rejoice in freedom from attachment, whose appetites have been conquered, and who are full of light, are free even in this world. Seven. The Venerable Arhat. There is no suffering for him who has finished his journey and abandoned grief, who has freed himself on all sides and thrown off all fetters. They depart with their thoughts well collected. They are not happy in their abode. Like swans who have left their lake, they leave their house and home. Men who have no riches, who live on recognized food, who have perceived void and unconditioned freedom, nirvana. Their path is difficult to understand, like that of birds in the air. He whose appetites are stilled, who is not absorbed in enjoyment, who has perceived void and unconditioned freedom, nirvana. His path is difficult to understand, like that of birds in the air. The gods even envy him whose senses, like horses well broken in by the driver, have been subdued, who is free from pride and free from appetites. Such a one who does his duty is tolerant, like the earth, like Indra's bolt. He is like a lake without mud. No new births are in store for him. His thought is quiet. Quiet are his word and deed, when he has obtained freedom by true knowledge, when he has thus become a quiet man. The man who is free from credulity, but knows the uncreated, who has cut all ties, removed all temptations, renounced all desires. He is the greatest of men. In a hamlet or in a forest, in the deep water or on the dry land, wherever venerable persons are is delightful. Forests are delightful. Where the world finds no delight, there the passionless will find delight, for they look not for pleasures. 8. The thousands. Even though a speech be 1,000 of words, but made up of senseless words, one word of sense is better, which if a man hears, he becomes quiet. Even though a gatha poem be 1,000 of words, but made up of senseless words, one word of a gatha is better, which if a man hears, he becomes quiet. Though a man recite 100 gathas made up of senseless words, one word of the law is better, which if a man hears, he becomes quiet. If one man conquer in a battle 1,000 times 1,000 men, and if another conquer himself, he is the greatest of conquerors. One's own self conquered is better than all other people. Not even a god, a Gandharva, not Mara with Brahman, could change into defeat the victory of a man who has vanquished himself and always lives under restraint. If a man for 100 years sacrifice month after month with 1,000, and if he, but for one moment, pay homage to a man whose soul is grounded in true knowledge, better is that homage than sacrifice for 100 years. If a man for 100 years worship Agni, fire, in the forest, and if he but for one moment pay homage to a man whose soul is grounded in true knowledge, better is that homage than sacrifice for 100 years. Whatever a man sacrifice in this world as an offering, or as an oblation for a whole year in order to gain merit, the whole of it is not worth a quarter, a farthing. Reverence shown to the righteous is better. He who always greets and constantly reveres the aged, 4 things will increase to him: life, beauty, happiness, power. But he who lives 100 years, vicious and unrestrained, a life of one day is better if a man is virtuous and reflecting. And he who lives 100 years, ignorant and unrestrained, a life of one day is better if a man is wise and reflecting. And he who lives 100 years, idle and weak, a life of one day is better if a man has attained firm strength. And he who lives 100 years, not seeing beginning and end, a life of one day is better if a man sees beginning and end. And he who lives 100 years, not seeing the immortal place, a life of one day is better if a man sees the immortal place. And he who lives 100 years, not seeing the highest law, a life of one day is better if a man sees the highest law. 9. Evil. If a man would hasten towards the good, he should keep his thought away from evil. If a man does what is good slothfully, his mind delights in evil. If a man commits a sin, let him not do it again. Let him not delight in sin. Pain is the outcome of evil. If a man does what is good, let him do it again. Let him delight in it. Happiness is the outcome of good. Even an evildoer sees happiness as long as his evil deed has not ripened. But when his evil deed has ripened, then does the evildoer see evil. Even a good man sees evil days, as long as his good deed has not ripened. But when his good deed has ripened, then does the good man see happy days. Let no man think evil, saying in his heart, "It will not come nigh unto me." Even by the falling of water drops, a water pot is filled. The fool becomes full of evil, even if he gather it little by little. Let no man think lightly of good, saying in his heart, "It will not come nigh unto me." Even by the falling of water drops, a water pot is filled. The wise man becomes full of good, even if he gather it little by little. Let a man avoid evil deeds as a merchant. If he has few companions and carries much wealth, avoids a dangerous road. As a man who loves life avoids poison. He who has no wound on his hand may touch poison with his hand. Poison does not affect one who has no wound, nor is there evil for one who does not commit evil. If a man offend a harmless, pure, and innocent person, the evil falls back upon that fool like light dust thrown up against the wind. Some people are born again. Evildoers go to hell. Righteous people go to heaven. Those who are free from all worldly desires attain nirvana. Not in the sky, not in the midst of the sea, not if we enter into the clefts of mountains, is there known a spot in the whole world where death could not overcome the mortal. 10. Punishment. All men tremble at punishment. All men fear death. Remember that you are like unto them, and do not kill nor cause slaughter. All men tremble at punishment. All men love life. Remember that thou art like unto them, and do not kill nor cause slaughter. He who seeking his own happiness punishes or kills beings who also long for happiness will not find happiness after death. He who seeking his own happiness does not punish or kill beings who also long for happiness will find happiness after death. Do not speak harshly to anybody. Those who are spoken to will answer thee in the same way. Angry speech is painful. Blows for blows will touch thee. If, like a shattered metal plate, are gone, thou utter not, then thou hast reached nirvana. Contention is not known to thee. As a cowherd with his staff drives his cows into the stable, so do age and death drive the life of men. A fool does not know when he commits his evil deeds, but the wicked man burns by his own deeds, as if burnt by fire. He who inflicts pain on innocent and harmless persons will soon come to one of these 10 states. He will have cruel suffering, loss, injury of the body, heavy affliction, or loss of mind, or a misfortune coming from the king, or a fearful accusation, or loss of relations, or destruction of treasures, or lightning fire will burn his houses, and when his body is destroyed, the fool will go to hell. Not nakedness, not plaited hair, not dirt, not fasting or lying on the earth, not rubbing with dust, not sitting motionless, can purify a mortal who has not overcome desires. He who, though well dressed in fine apparel, exercises tranquility, is quiet, subdued, restrained, chaste, and has ceased to find fault with all other beings. He, indeed, is a Brahmana, an ascetic, Brahmana, a friar, bhikshu. Is there in this world any man so restrained by humility that he does not mind reproof, as a well-trained horse the whip? like a well-trained horse when touched by the whip. Be ye active and lively, and by faith, by virtue, by energy, by meditation, by discernment of the law, you will overcome this great pain of reproof, perfect in knowledge and in behavior, and never forgetful. Well makers lead the water wherever they like. Fletchers bend the arrow. Carpenters bend a log of wood. Good people fashion themselves. Old age. How is their laughter? How is their joy, as this world is always burning? Why do you not seek a light, ye who are surrounded by darkness? Look at this dressed up lump, covered with wounds, joined together, sickly, full of many thoughts, which has no strength, no hold. This body is wasted, full of sickness and frail. This heap of corruption breaks to pieces. Life indeed ends in death. Those white bones, like gourds thrown away in the autumn. What pleasure is there in looking at them? After a stronghold has been made of the bones, it is covered with flesh and blood, and there dwell in it old age and death, pride and deceit. The brilliant chariots of kings are destroyed. The body also approaches destruction, but the virtue of good people never approaches destruction. Thus do the good say to the good. A man who has learnt little grows old like an ox. His flesh grows, but his knowledge does not grow. Looking for the maker of this tabernacle, I shall have to run through a course of many births, so long as I do not find him. And painful is birth again and again. But now, maker of the tabernacle, thou hast been seen. Thou shalt not make up this tabernacle again. All thy rafters are broken, thy ridge pole is sundered. The mind, approaching the eternal, Visankara, Nirvana, has attained to the extinction of all desires. Men who have not observed proper discipline and have not gained treasure in their youth perish like old herons in a lake without fish. Men who have not observed proper discipline
TJ, 80% of all the
and have
mass
not
hiring
gained
of black
treasure
people
in their
don't like
youth
him as a boss.
lie
They're like, you
like
moron.
broken bows, sighing after the past. 12. Self. If a man hold himself dear, let him watch himself carefully. During one at least out of the 3 watches, a wise man should be watchful. Let each man direct himself first to what is proper, then let him teach others. Thus, a wise man will not suffer. If a man make himself as he teaches others to be, then, being himself well subdued, he may subdue others. One's own self is indeed difficult to subdue. Self is the lord of self. Who else could be the lord? With self well subdued, a man finds a lord such as few can find. The evil done by oneself, self-begotten, self-bred, crushes the foolish as a diamond breaks a precious stone. He whose wickedness is very great brings himself down to the state where his enemy wishes him to be, as a creeper does with the tree which it surrounds. Bad deeds and deeds hurtful to ourselves are easy to do. What is beneficial and good, that is very difficult to do. The foolish man who scorns the rule of the venerable, Arhat, of the elect, Araya, of the virtuous, and follows false doctrine, he bears fruit to his own destruction, like the fruits of the Kataka reed. By oneself, the evil is done. By oneself, one suffers. By oneself, evil is left undone. By oneself, one is purified. Purity and impurity belong to oneself. No one can purify another. Let no one forget his own duty for the sake of another's, however great. Let a man, after he has discerned his own duty, be always attentive to his duty. 13. The world. Do not follow the evil law. Do not live on in thoughtlessness. Do not follow false doctrine. Be not a friend of the world. Rouse thyself. Do not be idle. Follow the law of virtue. The virtuous rests in bliss in this world and in the next. Follow the law of virtue. Do not follow that of sin. The virtuous rests in bliss in this world and in the next. Look upon the world as a bubble. Look upon it as a mirage. The king of death does not see him, who thus looks down upon the world. Come, look at this glittering world, like unto a royal chariot. The foolish are immersed in it, but the wise do not touch it. He who formerly was reckless and afterwards became sober, brightens up this world, like the moon when freed from clouds. He whose evil deeds are covered by good deeds, brightens up this world, like the moon when freed from clouds. This world is dark. Few only can see here. A few only go to heaven, like birds escaped from the net. The swans go on the path of the sun. They go through the ether by means of their miraculous power. The wise are let out of this world when they have conquered Mara and his train. If a man has transgressed one law, and he speaks lies and scoffs at another world, there is no evil he will not do. The uncharitable do not go to the world of the gods. Fools only do not praise liberality. A wise man rejoices in liberality, and through it becomes blessed in the other world. Better than sovereignty over the earth, better than going to heaven, better than lordship over all worlds, is the reward of the first step in holiness. The Buddha, the awakened. He whose conquest is not conquered again, into whose conquest no one in this world enters, by what track can you lead him, the awakened, the omniscient, the trackless? He whom no desire with its snares and poisons can lead astray, by what track can you lead him, the awakened, the omniscient, the trackless? Even the gods envy those who are awakened and not forgetful, who are given to meditation, who are wise, and who delight in the repose of retirement from the world. Difficult to obtain is the conception of men. Difficult is the life of mortals. Difficult is the hearing of the true law. Difficult is the birth of the awakened, the attainment of Buddhahood. Not to commit any sin, to do good, and to purify one's mind, that is the teaching of all the awakened. The awakened call patience the highest penance, long-suffering the highest nirvana, for he is not an anchorite, Pravragita, who strikes others. He is not an ascetic, Sramana, who insults others. Not to blame, not to strike, to live restrained under the law, to be moderate in eating, to sleep and sit alone, and to dwell on the highest thoughts. shower of gold pieces. He who knows that lusts have a short taste and cause pain, he is wise. Even in heavenly pleasures he finds no satisfaction. The disciple who is fully awakened delights only in the destruction of all desires. Men, driven by fear, go to many a refuge, to mountains and forests, to groves and sacred trees. But that is not a safe refuge. That is not the best refuge. A man is not delivered from all pains after having gone to that refuge. He who takes refuge with Buddha, the law, and the church, he who, with clear understanding, sees the four holy truths, pain, the origin of pain, the destruction of pain, and the eightfold holy way that leads to the quieting of pain. That is the safe refuge. That is the best refuge. Having gone to that refuge, a man is delivered from all pain. A supernatural person, a Buddha, is not easily found. He is not born everywhere. Wherever such a sage is born, that race prospers. Happy is the arising of the awakened. Happy is the teaching of the true law. Happy is peace in the church. Happy is the devotion of those who are at peace. He who pays homage to those who deserve homage, whether the awakened Buddha or their disciples, those who have overcome the host of evils and crossed the flood of sorrow. He who pays homage to such as have found deliverance and know no fear, this merit can never be measured by anybody. Happiness. Let us live happily then, not hating those who hate us. Among men who hate us, let us dwell free from hatred. Let us live happily then, free from ailments among the ailing. Among men who are ailing, let us dwell free from ailments. Let us live happily then, free from greed among the greedy. Among men who are greedy, let us dwell free from greed. Let us live happily then, though we call nothing our own. We shall be like the bright gods, feeding on happiness. Victory breeds hatred, for the conquered is unhappy. He who has given up both victory and defeat, he, the contented, is happy. There is no fire like passion. There is no losing throw like hatred. There is no pain like this body. There is no happiness higher than rest. Hunger is the worst of diseases, the body the greatest of pains. If one knows this truly, that is nirvana, the highest happiness. Health is the greatest of gifts, contentedness the best riches. Trust is the best of relationships. Nirvana, the highest happiness. He who has tasted the sweetness of solitude and tranquility is free from fear and free from sin, while he tastes the sweetness of drinking in the law. The sight of the elect, Araya, is good. To live with them is always happiness. If a man does not see fools, he will be truly happy. He who walks in the company of fools suffers a long way. Company with fools, as with an enemy, is always painful. Company with the wise is pleasure, like meeting with kinsfolk. Therefore, one ought to follow the wise, the intelligent, the learned, the much enduring, the dutiful, the elect. One ought to follow a good and wise man, as the moon follows the path of the stars. Pleasure. He who gives himself to vanity and does not give himself to meditation, forgetting the real aim of life and grasping at pleasure, will in time envy him who has exerted himself in meditation. Let no man ever look for what is pleasant, or what is unpleasant. Not to see what is pleasant is pain, and it is pain to see what is unpleasant. Let therefore no man love anything. Loss of the beloved is evil. Those who love nothing and hate nothing have no fetters. From pleasure comes grief. From pleasure comes fear. He who is free from pleasure knows neither grief nor fear. From affection comes grief. From affection comes fear. He who is free from affection knows neither grief nor fear. From lust comes grief. From lust comes fear. He who is free from lust knows neither grief nor fear. From love comes grief. From love comes fear. He who is free from love knows neither grief nor fear.
From all my life, this has been my drug of choice. My wisdom comes to that. But when it comes to working my country,
knows neither grief nor fear.
the sky will fall before I betray my
Possesses
country.
virtue and intelligence.
So,
Who
in
is
that,
just,
I'm rock
speaks the
solid.
truth,
I know
and
there's a
does
lot of other
what is
guys
his
out there
own
just like that.
business.
You pay like President Trump. He's not perfect either, but I believe he loves this country.
He in whom a
And I
desire
believe
for
he's
the
loyal to
ineffable,
I
nirvana,
don't know
has sprung
about
up,
some of the people
who
around
is
me.
satisfied
I'm worried
in his
about that.
mind,
So
and whose
that's
thoughts
what
are not bewildered by love. He is called Erdfremsrotus, carried upwards by the stream.
guns. Some there's old people that, you know, man like traffic cones and things like that. But he did have an element, he called it a search and rescue unit, but they were guys in Jeeps with AR-15s, and they were well trained, and they were in good shape. So my point is that every sheriff should have a posse. All these sheriffs in the CSPA that say they're a constitutional sheriff, ask them where their posse is. Unless they have a posse like Sheriff Arpaio has, they're full of crap. You know right now. They're just politicians mouthing what they know you want to hear, but they're not taking care of your infrastructure. They're not ready for a jihadi cell attacks in their neighborhoods and in their city. They're not ready for the cartels going active also. They're not ready for any of that. So until they raise a posse, they have the authority to do so. Until they do, they're just posers. That's what I'm going to say. I'm going to call them out right now. I don't care who they are. Same goes for your governors. If your governors will not call you up as the militia, get you organized and trained, then they need to go. If your state legislature won't step up and organize and train you as they have the authority to do as a militia, they need to go. That's what I'm saying. President Trump needs to do it. He can do it right now. All these weenie sheriffs are not going to do it. I've been trying for years to get them to do it. They just won't do it. I've given up on them. The only one that ever did it was Sheriff Arpaio.
Let's go to Ron. Go ahead, Ron.
The politicians, you can't rely on them either. But right now, President Trump has the ability to do it. That's why one thing you all could do, more important than anything else we're talking about, is encourage him to call up the militia and form us into county units and then deploy us down to the border. But I'm gonna write this up as a proposal. I need to do that. I'm gonna sit down this next week and that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna write it all out. Here's his basis, constitutional basis. Here's his federal statute basis. Here's what he needs to do. And maybe I'll enlist Ivan to help me do this. But we'll write this up as a proposal and they give it to him. And we'll cite all the appearances on Sean Ryan's podcast by care experts. John Blondell has been ringing the bell about this. Sarah Adams, Sean has himself, right? So they've been saying this is what's coming, people. It's not a hypothesis. This is what we know is coming. They've told us they're going to do this. You know, Al Qaeda has already announced it. They're going to do this in the United States. So what President Trump can do and must do is revitalize the militia.
Can I finish saying what I was going to say?
Yeah, go ahead, Billy.
I'm sorry, man. I got on a rant there. Go ahead.
All right, go ahead.
You're good. So, to get at what he was building at, which I am certain, via his circumstance, he knows through and through. The best way to perceive the circumstance at hand would be this. Look at the quote-unquote U.S. government as the mob, right? It is the mob. The moment you begin to see it as that, and then understand that all of these alphabet soup agencies are the exact same entity, you will come to the conclusion that everything makes sense. Until you can actually see the hands of that puppet master, everything is just chaos.
We got the point.
Right?
Thank you. Go ahead.
Then,
I agree. Yeah, go ahead.
then what you need to understand is that the Fraternal Order of Police is a terrorist organization, and I will land there.
Thank you. If you guys can keep the points quick, we want to get questions in with Stuart.
I mean, hey, look, in my organization, about 30% of my membership was cops. These were good men. They became police for the right reason. They're good cops. But they would tell you stories about bad cops. I had one guy that used to be a undercover narcotics guy. He was going out there and snaring drug trafficking rings. But then he realized that the CIA was the biggest drug trafficking cartel in the world, and he just realized, what's the point of this? The drug war is a complete joke. And drug war is a joke anyway. You can't keep drugs out of prison. I watched every day in my unit guys overdosing on drugs. It's ridiculous. It's like prohibition didn't work. Drug prohibition does not work. All it does is create a black market for drugs that makes billions of dollars, trillions of dollars every year for the cartels and for the
It is
politicians.
designed specifically to do exactly that.
Oh yeah.
Guys, we're not gonna have interruptions.
They don't want that-
Steve, you're here, and Stuart, if you
No,
interrupt.
you're good. No, he's right. And they don't want that to end. So it leads to dirty cops. Okay. I saw when I was working in a gun shop in Vegas, I was there as a concealed carry instructor, and I started managing a gun shop. I watched local narcotics guys rolling in with brand new Corvettes, brand new Harleys, things they had confiscated from people, whether that were actually drug dealers or not, I don't know. But they benefited from the drug war because they got to roll around and cool toys. And their department got a lot of money from all the seized assets from people they accused, just accused. You had asset forfeiture in this country that's been done to people, no trial. They just take their stuff, say it was involved in drugs, and then they have to fight to get their stuff back. That's as bad as the red flag bills where your guns are taken and you got to hire a lawyer, spend $10,000 to get your guns back. Same kind of crap. So my point is that the drug war has led to corruption, and it is in every department in the country, just as the drug war has led to corruption in the DOJ and state prosecutions too. You've got corrupt attorneys now, prosecutors who go out there, and it's the same crap. I've met tons of guys in prison who are in there for what we call ghost guns or ghost drugs. In other words, no actual drugs were found, no guns were found, just some other poor sap who got wrapped up and accused of something was coerced into testifying to say that I saw Joe Schmo with guns or drugs. And on that testimony alone, juries across the country put people in prison. And the feds love to do this. So I'm just saying, it's rotten. So a big part of it is the war on drugs. It needs to go away. You should treat drugs exactly the same as you treat alcoholism. You wouldn't have 100,000 Americans dead from fentanyl if you had legalized drugs that people just go buy similar to do alcohol. I know a lot of people are going to be like, oh, that's ridiculous. Look what happened in Portland. Do you want 100,000 dead Americans? Then don't have the cartels being the source for people that are wanting pain pills and can't get them, or wanting a temporary escape. It's not a death sentence. Because some teenager decides to get high, they don't deserve to friggin' die. If you believe that, then you're soulless. They don't deserve it. And same goes for all these men that I met in prison. They're in there because they were low-level drug users, and they're wrapped up and accused of being like one kid, like 20 years old. He was in there for conspiracy to distribute, and also what happened was that he had to take a plea deal because a drug dealer he bought some pills from sold some pills to somebody else, a girl who died of fentanyl overdose. They found this kid's number in the drug dealer's phone. So they wrapped this kid up and said he was involved in a conspiracy to distribute that led to her death. So they threatened him with like 30 years in prison, or you can take 5. He took 5. He was just a low-level purchaser of pills because he got hooked on prescription pills, and then when he couldn't get them from a doctor, he went and bought them from a drug dealer. So I'm just saying, but the point is that it leads to injustice and it leads to corruption. So yes, you have a problem in this country with dirty cops. That's a problem. What I don't like about Black Lives Matter is they try to make it all about black people. So the only people that are being abused by cops in this country are black. And then they also, of course, no matter what is going on, if it's a black person, they argue that the shooting was unjustified, even if the guy was pulled a knife or pulled a gun. So it's a mess, is what I'm saying. But there's a legitimate problem with bad cops doing bad things to people that ends up in them, killing people or abusing their civil rights, and that needs to be fixed.
Okay, so real quick, some parameters as we go forward. Guys, I do not want to interrupt him. If you have a question for Stuart.
Oh no, it's cool, man. It's good. I tend to go on too long, so I don't mind.
No, you're good. But I'm gonna moderate this. It's not you. It's that we have people that jump in the middle of you talking, and
No, that's cool. We're having a conversation. Just picture we're all just having beers around a table. I don't mind. I really don't.
I get it, but I run things a particular way because we don't want people talking over each other.
All right, man.
So, I get it. You're a humble guy. Let me go to Ron. Go ahead, Ron.
Hey, thanks, man. And I agree with the parameters. Hold it, raise your hand. get your point across as quickly as possible, and then land the plane, because there's a lot here to unpack. I agree with almost everything you're saying. I say almost because there's some things I couldn't hear because people were talking over. I want to say this. I am in California, all right? I would never advocate for violence. I am a 6-hour academy certified instructor in literally every discipline they've ever had. I train HRT teams, right? I am a California Post instructor. I am a California DOJ CCW instructor, which is just fucking stupid to begin with. And I know a lot about cops out here. And the problem is not just dirty cops or bad cops. The problem is also cops out here in California are just not trained. Most of the cops that I have initially trained with bring their guns to a class in the case, right? Because they get 40 hours of training on a rifle range or pistol range during their academy, and that's it. Maybe, depending upon the department, they have to shoot a qual once or twice per year. That qual is so low level, it's frightening. When I went through my post class, because I had to at 58 years old, and outdid everyone because I know how to move the trigger to the rear without adding motion to the gun. So, you know what I mean? Some of the things that these guys can't do is because they're not taught. And it's so easy to explain exactly how to make a hit on a steel target, period, right? It is. And dry fire practice and all these things. But organizing people requires people to not be afraid. And I've been fighting California government since I got here. Hell, you could Google Givens v. Newsom and see what I did during COVID or just anywhere. I am not a fan of government. I believe what President Trump is doing, and what I hope that he's doing, is as he eliminates a lot of these federal departments and agencies, and a lot of this comes back to states as is constitutionally required, then people will start to see that it is not the big government that is the problem. It's the people who don't hold anybody accountable that are the problem. In California, for Christ's sake, you know that there's been two times since the 1950s in the state of California where Republicans have had simple majorities in the legislature. 1969 and 70, 1995 and 1996. That's it. There's literally nothing you can do to blame anything on Republicans in California. Yeah, Reagan came out of here. Yeah, we've had a couple of Republican governors. Hang on one sec, okay, please. Because what I want to do is land this plane exactly right here, right now. We the people must find a way to get the message out that yes, we flipped 10 counties in California in 2024. We'll flip 10 more for the midterms. We flipped 10 more before the presidential election in 2028. We vote Republican again in California for president, and no other swing states matter. Any Republican that wins here wins the country. And now the other part of this puzzle is I'm not sure that after the midterms there will be a Democrat party or a Republican party left. There may be a Patriot party and then other. And that would be a beautiful thing. I'll land it right there. And thank you.
Yeah, one thing I would add to that is that I have family in California. I was born in Fresno. I still have family in California, so I know that California, I mean, frankly, Bud, he might have actually been majority Republican. The problem is you don't have clean elections, right? You got illegal aliens voting, you got all the mass mail-in ballots, all that crap going on, and you got motor voter voting and all that. So that's one problem. But another problem is, this is important, is that the Republican Party is to blame for continuing to run rhino shills, and that makes patriots throw their hands up and say, well, why am I even going to bother to participate? So you got people that, whether they're libertarians or old school like Ron Paul Republicans or independents, who just don't show up to vote because they're sick and tired of being, smoke being blown up their ass by the Republican Party and then they want to make with rhinos. So that's one problem. Is you have a large number of people out there that just don't vote. They showed up for President Trump because they believe in him. But like we were talking about earlier, we have got to take over our local GOP county party and make sure we have patriots that are in those positions who then cultivate the candidates who are going to be legitimate America First MAGA candidates. And that you have a much better chance of winning because people that are old school, John F. Kennedy style Democrats like Robert Kennedy Jr. or Tulsi Gabbard will cross over and come vote for your candidate. That's what I think is the important point to make. So in some ways, it is Republicans' Party's fault because they are not running 100% MAGA America First candidates, right? They're just not.
You're absolutely right. The Republican Party, and I told this to Chris on a call a couple weeks ago, if anyone believes that there is not just as much or more evil on the right as there is on the left, they're wearing blinders. They're absolutely freaking ignorant of what is really going on. And I'm going to throw this last thing out and I'll land the plane. Because we had a recall election scheduled for, a couple years ago, right? The reason that was unsuccessful, the only reason that he was not recalled, 2.7 million Trump voters did not show up and vote in that recall election.
Right.
Way it landed.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so yes. So this is what we're seeing right now, too. Like, I work for Condemn USA. I'm their national spokesman. The donations have dried up. I've talked to other people that run MAGA, America First groups around the country. Their donations are drying up. I saw that with the Oath Keepers. When President Trump was elected the first time, I was like, thank God he got elected. But we saw our membership shrunk and our donations went down. People get this idea in their head, well, we won. President Trump's back in power, so now we can all just go back to sleep. And that's just foolish. The left never does that. They push when they're in power. They push when they're out of power. They're always pushing their agenda. And like Trent Evans, the guy that started Condemned USA, said something. I saw him for the first time when I arrived at the D.C. jail. One of his employees, Jen Baker, had come to visit me in prison. Awesome patriot. And she came and picked me up along with Mel Hawley. So we drove down.
Yeah. I don't know if you can join this X space, but
Do we have to listen to this dumb shit?
yeah, I'm a speaker on this big X space right now called Defending Liberty with guest Stuart Rhodes, Patriots Unite.
Can I speak through your account if they say something that
No.
is on their leg on?
No, because there's no audio transfer. They won't even be able to hear you.
What the fuck are we listening to it for if I can't respond?
I sent you the link. I need you to go on X and join the room.
I don't have X.
Oh, you gotta get it. You
I'm not
gotta get it.
gonna.
You gotta get
My
it.
old phone that you gave, the phone you gave me, I put like Snap and Insta and all that bullshit, and I hated it all, so I don't want nothing to do with it.
Yeah, people people give up. They delete.
But you're so fucking demanding of people's times on so many motherfucking different apps.
Yeah, I know. Spam, dude. I'm a manual spammer.
Dude, I've been talking with your opponent in Chicago,
Mhm.
I told him that I will work for his campaign for free.
Well, that's good because everybody has to work for free because everybody's broke in the whole party. Everybody looks like they fucking live out of their car.
It's such a garbage fucking conversation. Why the fuck are we listening like the further away from the?
Because I want to just
we
get
have
I
to hear
just
this
want
dumb shit.
I just want to get a sound clip in and then I'm headed into a hot bath. So
Well, go take care of your gout, and I'll talk to you later.
okay, I'll talk to you in like an hour. I'm just start planning tomorrow. No, no, that's. No, but it's something. What's the thing about it? No, but it's not that much. Just do one bed, one bath. I can get it down to unless you want to come over and massage exchange and yoga to get rid of the pain. Unless you want to come over and I'll treat you to lunch, dinner, and a Swedish massage exchange and yoga to get rid of the pain.
because you're a big PC gamer still. You want to just talk about even your Earth?
Good afternoon, all. I am Major Step. Gibson, and I oversee the crime victims unit for the Orleans Fire Sheriff's Office. Once I was notified about the escapees, I immediately gathered. Team of experienced staff and
Certified clown.
started calling victims and survivors just to make sure that they are aware of
Ever since that day, I live with anxiety. I can't sleep. I don't feel well. This woman, who we will call Maria, says she did not want to use her real name. Sure, she could be targeted, but she does want people to know her story.
no deseo ir para atrás.
My fellow Americans, it's with great pleasure that I am announcing that
Congress is currently debating spending.
She told
Now, the amazing thing about human robotics is not just the fact that if it worked, it could be quite versatile. It is likely the only robot that is likely to work. And the reason for that is because technology needs scale. Most of the robotic systems we've had so far are too low volume. And those low volume systems will never achieve.
You are back in the middle of a political firestorm.
Yeah, for walking on the beach with my wife, so I don't know how we ended up here. It never occurred to me.
They went after us, and even the FBI came after us, and they had to go in front of Congress
Oh, have your choice. Have your pick. Have your pick.
service, they know we're there, know where we're gonna be, how to identify our guys, if they had a certain color armband, had a keeper hat on. He said, okay, you can identify our people. We stand outside the sign that said, volunteer security escort, if you want to escort to your car, just ask. And if someone was like an older, retired civil veteran, or elderly people, or women and kids, and things like that, they would come up to us and we'd escort them back to their cars. And people like that. I would say, as a mind fuck, Antifa, I would say for every Oath Keeper you see, there are at least two more you don't see. That's what I tell them. So, that was our mind fuck for Antifa.
Hey Stuart, this is a Republican tree. Can I get put in the queue? I want to ask you a question.
That's interesting. Okay. Hey Chris, this is Jeremiah Bullfrog actually, so I'm gonna jump on board here with Mr. Rhodes and say, pardon my French, respect my language that I love, egg suspension. That being said, I can what's on our coup? What's our coup here, man? Egg suppression. This has been my counsel, what I'm about to talk about. Oh yeah, hey, I agree. And so, one of the things I want to talk about, first I want to perspect a little bit on the insurrection I had with President Trump. Okay. Everything that I've looked into with that, it's set up similar for a coup. The Institute Insurrection Act, like you said, we got flags with smiley faces in Congress. The Institute Insurrection Act, they're going instantly for an impeachment and they're going to be sent over for. I don't think that's the way. As far as it comes from military, I do agree that we need to have those at every state, but I think it's the states that need to set them up, just like the National Guard. I mean, come on, but they're not doing that. I agree, it's their duty, but they're not doing it. But my point was, if that under federal statute right now, the Militia Act has been there since the founding to provide, Congress had long ago, Congress has the authority to call, to provide for calling for the militia, to suppress insurrections, repel invasions, and execute the laws of the Union. Congress has done that with the Militia Act that's had different forms of it since the very beginning. Okay? It's always been there. It's a constitutional power that is being exercised pursuant to statute passed by Congress, pursuant to Congress's constitutional power. Yes, we can already be formed into militia under our state legislatures and governors, but they will not do it. And the problem with doing it on your own as a private militia is you're only going to get a certain small number of people that will do it with you, and you'll be vulnerable to being entrapped, like we've seen over and over and over again. Okay? Yeah, guys, and Trump had the authority to do it under his command right now and get us holding the real units of every dude in the county. I get it, and because I'm in Missouri, and we do have that act on the table where it needs to be pushed and passed through. Here in Missouri, but it's just being tabled, and nobody's yelling loud enough to get it. And I actually lived in Ferguson during the time of the Ferguson riot, so you weren't the only one standing out with guns. Just I didn't say that. I never said that, brother. I never said that. Yeah, we were protecting our son's businesses, but. And there were local, we saw pictures of local black guys, standing in front of liquor stores and doing the right thing. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, Elvin still was outside agitator. He wasn't the people that actually moved. I agree. I mean, you had some opportunists, but other than that. No, you're right. We saw that Kenosha, too. Same thing happened over and over again across the country. You're right. Yep. Outside attitudes came in. That's right. Yep. And I've said this to a lot of people as well. I mean, when we watched take place, George Floyd was supposed to take place in Ferguson. The problem is we had Governor Grimes who stood up against it, did the right things, brought in, Oath Keepers, the state troopers, on a National Guard to protect federal buttons, let Governor Nixon, that was Governor Nixon, wasn't it? No, Eric Greitens, who paid a very, very high seeing these individuals back on the streets as soon as they get arrested. But that's a story for another time, because the reason I came up is I wanted to ask you. You mentioned earlier about you started getting with Keepers in 2009, and then you mentioned the Tea Party. But during that Tea Party, and this is going to tie into January 6th, because obviously I was speaking on this in the Terry space, but I was getting muted by the cones and overspoke with people were gaslighting. But so during the Tea Party, there was an individual, a general, who was calling for a storm in the Capitol and a citizen arrest in Obama. That same general who went fast track. There's a whole space on this Wednesday that explains this a lot more in detail. Was it I 100% have. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Because he was calling for the insurrection and the citizen arrest in Obama, which is the same rhetoric that leads to what he was calling for. What he said is that we need generals and CEOs of major corporations to take over. That's what he said. That we should trust generals who are just politicians and CEOs of major corporations to then take over and run our government. That is a illegitimate coup. I agree. He was saying that as well as we needed people to go to the Capitol and storm the Capitol and then citizens arrest Obama in 2013. But he replaced him with a government, supposedly interim government, run by generals and CEOs of major corporations. Talk about the frying pan into the fire. So I oppose that. You're correct about that. That would have been horrible. Absolutely right. Now to lead into January 6th, he was the general that was pursued for the insurrection act. I've got him on a podcast that they deleted, but it's on the way back to see him brought back to life. Well, he wrote the clock and right once a day, right? Or once a day. 100%. But a lot of that is that was my question that I wanted to ask you, particularly with the things to 2013 and January 6th. But he's a lot of the rhetoric we're seeing flying around here. The attacks of General Flynn and so forth and so on. And this is a major part of January 6th because they were also General McNamara working alongside with General Valley. We're listening to PCAPS and Dennis McGarvey and Amber Storycard that was pushed on to Mike Lindell. Yeah, it's going to want to chase down the wrong hole. Yeah, absolutely. Which we should have been looking at Seth Kessel and Devon's information and then the voter rolls of dead voters, the stolen security cards, or still security numbers and so on, right? Exactly. Well, on the election, I just stopped at, they admitted they didn't follow state law. They called it changing the rules, but they just directly violated state election laws. And then I looked at that and go, okay, who did that? Wasn't the state legislature did it? They didn't go to a special session. They could have. They could have given by Zoom in a special session to amend their election laws to allow whatever. And they could have done that. It was constitutional and lawful. And they didn't. So I don't need to see all the proof of the so-called fraud. I only need to see that they didn't follow the election law. And so when you violate the state election laws designed to prevent fraud and designed to make it easier to see fraud, I don't need to go still try to prove the fraud. I just have to show that you violated an election law. And then that triggers a violation of Article 2. It's illegal and unconstitutional. Done. I don't need to see anything else. That was my position. That was John Easton's position, and he was right. Yeah, 100%. But that rhetoric and propaganda was being pushed at that particular time is what kept people from. Essentially, is what gave them the media and Congress the ammo to deem anybody speaking against the election as illegal or domestic or terrorist or extremist. Hey, I got to wrap this up pretty quick here. My friend has got to end this tonight. So let's stop with this. We got to end that. I said your point, and I agree up to this point, that when you're dealing with a fight to the death against the deep state, and you have an election that in your face has been stolen, and a Tricom puppet's being installed, and you're scrambling to find some way to stop that from DC, by the way.
Baby, this love, I'll never.
Office, all the corrupt Chekhov puppets, everything. Show it to us all, and then we have to deal with how you fix it then. The authority of President Trump as the duly elected commander-in-chief. That's the safest to put it. Not Joe Dalloway and his CEO buddies. I've never, ever trusted that for good reason. So, your point's well taken. Just in the context of the emergency we were having in November and December of 2020, what would you have us do? What would you have President Trump do? What's your alternative?
Well, I mean, I think if we wouldn't have had a PSYOP running on the back end, we would have had the people that were stood up, like you mentioned before, that Ontario had mentioned prior to January 6th to stand up and make the call for, these elections to be looked into its own.
Sure. So they can look away at these things to use it to divert attention and suppress an investigation. Look at the Supreme Court done. The Supreme Court throws into that constitutional crisis and didn't do their damn job. And Leo Thomas called them out and said, you guys, we have no discretion to take this case. We have to take this case. And Roberts refused to do it. And he went along with the lefties on the court. So did Kavanaugh, so did Barrett. They sided with the lefties and would not hear the election challenge from Ken Paxton in the Texas suit, Pennsylvania.
The way that I look at that is that Alice started back in 2017 with Q conspiracies and all that stuff that was around, because what that did was allow Congress in 2020 to pass through the House and then go to the Senate with the agreement the bill is called, which basically allowed them to make juvenile supporters as domestic terrorists and domestic extremists, which gave FBI and then Homeland Security the ability to survey American citizens.
Anyway, the CIA and the FBI has been doing that kind of crap for decades. They don't need congressional authorization to do it.
The right of giving out PSYOP and get people sitting on their hands when they should have
Oh, you know, right before him. I think Q is absolutely a psyop, absolutely. Because like you said, people waiting, they don't trust the plan. They were just waiting for this magical plan to materialize. I know I'm going to piss a lot of people off by saying this, but hey, I was dealing with Judge Jensen, right? We're in solitary confinement. And I get out of my cell with my break to go take a shower, and I'm trying to the judge, I'm talking to him. He's like, Joe, look at this Q drop just got mailed to me from my wife. He's in solitary confinement, and he's still, drinking the Kool-Aid on Q. He's like, read this. He sent it to the door slot, and so I go read it, overnight. Next day, I'm like, God, this is complete gibberish. This is a bunch of crap. And he was a true believer. I think Q was a friggin' CIA psyop designed to distract Americans and get them spinning their wheels and not focused on real solutions. I think that's absolutely correct.
Well, I think the second round is coming up. I think if we don't get actionable right now, we're going to lose the midterms, and it's going to be Trump's first administration all over again. Because if we lose the House, we've won.
Yeah, I agree, man. And hey, I know some good people. I'm not saying Doug's a bad guy. Good guy. But just when you know that there are good people, that's the whole point of psyops. That's the whole point of propaganda. Is that people are twisted and misled down a primrose path that gets them into a dead end. They're not primrose covered. Like I said, we've got physical necessities. We need a militia system that needs to be restored. We need to get ready in our groundings.
Turn it back on you because I spoke out against this that I respect a lot and still do. But I think once this comes out, they'll realize why I stand by the truth. God, country, and my kids. That's it. And whatever it takes, right?
Yeah, amen, man. I mean, that's the thing. It can be difficult. I mean, it can be difficult to know who's real and who's not real. It can be difficult because we've seen so many, posers and grifters, and even in our own movement, right? And inside of the liberty movement, you got grifters. You do. You got talking head grifters that really all they really care about is making money. I'm not going to name any trouble with the super flying squad, but they're there. And they're sincerely a wannabe dictator? I don't know. But yeah, I saw that a long time ago. I was like, nope, I'm not following that.
I got that fingerprints all over it.
But that's different from President Trump doing what he had the authority to do. And I go back to declassification. At the very least, do that. As I told my last letter to him was like just days before the inauguration, like January 9th or something. I was like, at least do this. At least do a mass declassification to expose them. You know, but he didn't do it, unfortunately. He can now. I hope he does. I sincerely hope that Tulsi Gabbard, I think she's got it on the right place. I hope that she takes the helm on that. We're going to declassify and expose the deep state. So are the damn judges. And I don't care if they're, like I said in my other letters, if you're a Democrat appointed judge, if you're a Republican appointed judge, that are dirty, expose them. So for U.S. senators, you pick one of the Republican Party or the Democrat Party, expose them. Let's repeat all the way through the whole, all three branches, top to top, and through the state legislatures too, and state governor's offices. So,
I agree, and I appreciate your time, and I really appreciate everything you've done for this country.
well, I'll do my best. I kind of feel like Cassandra from the tale of, the Trojan horse, right? In Troy. So she was gifted with the ability to see the future, and she was cursed. She told her father, the king, Priam, that he was going to have his city to be destroyed and he would be killed, and he just didn't believe her. So that's sometimes kind of how I feel. I'm not the only guy who feels this way, I'm sure. I'm sure Ivan feels that way, and a bunch of us, you probably feel this way too. People just don't listen. You can see what's coming. They don't freaking listen, and then it shows up like the jihadi attacks I know are coming. I mean, it's not a rocket science. It's coming, guys. Get ready for it. Are you getting ready for it right now? Are you training? Are you organizing with your neighbors? Are you meeting your neighbors? Are you getting off your ass and getting back in shape? Are you getting ready? If you're not doing what you should be doing. To do what you should be doing. And figure out what you want to call it. I don't care what you call it. Call it neighborhood watch. But get off your ass and train.
For your time tonight, man, and we're gonna get you back on another time.
Happy to. We can do one topic or two, and then we'll dive into it. Just go. So, I mean, I write a book about oath keepers and my experiences, but, I mean, I make mistakes. We all make mistakes. There's no such thing as a perfect person, but only one walks out of it. That's like we said for the Cowboys, or Biden for Trump, or any groups that stood up. Other guys like John Robert Fellows who was a person. So a lot of guys have experience dealing with crap around the country, and we should be sharing those and sharing experiences, doing our AARs, and making sure that we have a better future. Like, for example, with P6, I would have done things differently that day. Would I have still been there? Yes, because we have a responsibility to do it. But I'd have been much more mindful of the vulnerability of our security teams to being steered into a side further event. I wouldn't call J6 a manufactured event, I would call it a manipulated event. They manipulated good people into, like Jessica Watkins might have done it, call it a lobster trap. That's a good way to put it. It'd be easy for you to get in once you're in your front. That's kind of how J6 was. It was made easy for everyone to get in the Capitol. Once it got inside, just walking around doing photo shoots. And our guys helped cops. We can talk about this another time. But they did, that's the called police inside. All that, though, was hidden from the jury, hidden from the public.
They had never seen like this. When they were venturing into the jungle, they stumbled upon a spectacle among the herd of
Of any oath keeper going in the Capitol or any Proud Boy, because we were already being targeted and going inside. It was easy for them, easier to replicate this false target.
Last June, my wife and I were profoundly moved to join veterans of D-Day at the new National Memorial overlooking Gold Beach as they returned to honor their comrades who never came. It's never really been hit on, I guess. And so I just felt like it was something that was missed, because I think you got great takes on it, and I think you know the history of it. And so I didn't want to leave that out tonight.
That's cool, man. Yeah, I think, in closing though, I think the FBI and the CIA should be scattered to the four winds. Same thing that JFK threatened to do. That's why they killed him. That's what should be done. The CIA from its very inception has been nothing but a
Can I just ask a quick question about the Federal Reserve and Congress essentially working together to create 40 trillion and this big beautiful bill creating 10, 20 trillion new debt in 10 years? I mean, isn't that a major problem, the Federal Reserve and Congress creating all this debt?
Absolutely. The Federal Reserve's been a problem from the very beginning, like Ron Paul said a long time ago. I would say it's just taxation. It's another.
In the world of seafood, not all.
He called it a tax. It's a hidden tax.
They kicked me.
It's just taxation. It's a form of what do you call it? He called it a tax. It's a hidden tax. Inflation is a hidden tax. So when they create money out of nothing, they give it to their buddies first. They get full value on the dollar that they just created out of thin air, and then by the time it gets to you, it's devalued. And now they just created out of digits. It's just digital. I think what we should do is declare a jubilee. None of that national debt any of us signed on to or agreed with. It was all done illegitimately. So I don't think we owe China jack shit, or anybody else for that matter. Just clear a jubilee like you used to do in the Bible, wipe out all the debts and start over again. That's what I would say. So all those trillions of dollars of debt, we don't owe any of that. And we need to end the Federal Reserve, not just audit it, end it. Because all it is a private cartel of bankers. And they just create money out of nothing, and with that comes massive power. And the Chinese do the same thing, by the way. They can also, the Chinese Communist Party can just print up as many, what do they call it, the yuan? They can print those up all day long. They go transfer it into U.S. dollars, and they come buy farmland and businesses in the United States. It doesn't cost them a dime to do that. They just print money out of thin air. Why are we letting that happen? It's just fiat money. They just print up out of nothing and come here and buy out our politicians, buy out our governors, you name it, and then buy our land and factories and businesses too.
And one last
So why
point
would
on
this
that.
happen?
When you seize their land that they bought the U.S. to, I mean, shouldn't we do that at this point?
Yeah, of course. That's what I'm saying. All that's illegitimate. There should be no ownership of any land in the United States by anyone. And you can't be a businessman in China without being part of the CCP and having political officers of the CCP on your board and watching everything you do. If you're in business in China, you are the CCP. There's no such thing as a Chinese business that's not the CCP. It doesn't exist.
I'm so glad you hit on this point because I've been pounding the drum on this point. If they're visiting China, they're part of the CCP. If Merrick Garland,
Well, I mean, if they're doing business in China, they're doing business with the CCP.
correct?
And that's the problem. We have a lot of businessmen in this country because they're loyal to themselves and their own bottom line first that have sold out to the CCP. You're right. They've sold out because they get money out of it. Hey guys, I got to run. I'm using my friend's phone. He's got to go to bed.
All good, brother. We'll do it again sometime, man. It was incredible.
Hey, I appreciate you guys, and I really appreciate your input. So, I don't know everything. I just, I know from my own experience, and that's all I can talk from. So,
Yeah, well, there's a lot of experience there. Stuart Rhodes, everybody. We'll do it again sometime. Thank you.
hey, I got to put a shout out to Condemn USA. I encourage folks to support them. It's a good organization. It's kind of the ACLU for our side. And donations have dropped off. People think that everything's fine now. It's not. We got Tina Peters. We got other political prisoners out there that still need help. So, at least do something to support Condemned USA. Give us a donation. So you go to givesendgo.com/C, as in Charlie, USA, CUSA. Givesendgo.com/CUSA to donate to Condemned USA. And for my Give Send Go, it's /Golf Alpha Foxtrot 5 Bravo GAF 5B.
I posted that in the chat. I posted that on my profile.
I could use a shot in the arm too, guys. I'm just rebuilding my life and trying to figure out what I'm doing next. Until I get a pardon, it makes it much more difficult to earn money. So just so
you know, I put that up top at the beginning. I don't know if you saw that.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
And the same goes for all the other J Spixers. Every one of them is trying to build their lives. We've been destroyed. So hopefully someday we'll get some kind of lawsuit compensation. But guys, right now we got nothing. Most of we're building out of nothing. Just the way it is. So, all right, guys. God bless you guys, and thank you for having me on. I appreciate you.
God bless you too.
All right. Bye.
If you guys want to stick around for a little bit of reaction, I'll do it for about another 15 minutes, but we'll get him on again. This is something I was working on really hard. Go ahead, Silent. Your hands up, Silent. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I'm here. Yeah. Hey, man, this has been a great space. I've been listening the whole night, talked a little bit, but, there's one thing, and I got a question. Is Ivan still awake?
Well, We'll see. Maybe not.
I don't know, Ivan, you still awake? He might have to. He's been working hard though. Okay, so I got a question real quick, and this is a question, okay? I'm gonna make a statement real quick. Okay. In 1951, Harry Truman set the precedent of two.
I have three I Dr. T. Rubs is a Jew-hating Northern Irish little cuck who sleeps with his dog every day.
Shit, or anybody else for that matter. Declare a jubilee like you do in the Bible. What?
Okay, we're gonna go back to the Buddha book.
Arlington Nissan has something for you. We have selection. Arlington Nissan has something for you because we never have a
Dream. Kinsmen, friends, and lovers, salute a man who has been long away and returns safe. In like manner, his good works receive him who has done good and has gone from this world to the other, as kinsmen receive a friend on his return. Anger. Let a man leave anger. Let him forsake pride. Let him overcome all bondage. No sufferings befall the man who is not attached to name and form, and who calls nothing his own. He who holds back rising anger like a rolling chariot, him I call a real driver. Other people are but holding the reins. Let a man overcome anger by love. Let him overcome evil by good. Let him overcome the greedy by liberality, the liar by truth. Speak the truth. Do not yield to anger. Give, if thou art asked for little. By these 3 steps thou wilt go near the gods. The sages who injure nobody, and who always control their body, they will go to the unchangeable place, Nirvana, where, if they have gone, they will suffer no more. Those who are ever watchful, who study day and night, and who strive after Nirvana, their passions will come to an end. This is an old saying. O Atula, this is not only of today. They blame him who sits silent. They blame him who speaks much. They also blame him who says little. There is no one on earth who is not blamed. There never was, there never will be, nor is there now a man who is always blamed, or a man who is always praised. But he whom those who discriminate praise continually day after day, as without blemish, wise, rich in knowledge and virtue, who would dare to blame him, like a coin made of gold from the Gambu River? Even the gods praise him. He is praised even by Brahman. Beware of bodily anger, and control thy body. Leave the sins of the body, and with thy body practice virtue. Beware of the anger of the tongue, and control thy tongue. Leave the sins of the tongue, and practice virtue with thy tongue. Beware of the anger of the mind, and control thy mind. Leave the sins of the mind, and practice virtue with thy mind. The wise who control their body, who control their tongue, the wise who control their mind, are indeed well controlled. Impurity. Thou art now like a sear leaf. The messengers of death, Yama, have come near to thee. Thou standest at the door of thy departure, and thou hast no provision for thy journey. Make thyself work hard, be wise. When thy impurities are blown away, and thou art free from guilt, thou wilt enter into the heavenly world of the elect, Araya. Thy life has come to an end. Thou art come near to death, Yama. There is no resting place for thee on the road, and thou hast no provision for thy journey. Make thyself an island, work hard, be wise. When thy impurities are blown away, and thou art free from guilt, thou wilt not enter again into birth and decay. Let a wise man blow off the impurities of his self, as a smith blows off the impurities of silver one by one, little by little, and from time to time. As the impurity which springs from the iron, when it springs from it, destroys it, thus do a transgressor's own works lead him to the evil path. The taint of prayers is non-repetition. The taint of houses, non-repair. The taint of the body is sloth. The taint of a watchman, thoughtlessness. Bad conduct is the taint of woman. Greediness, the taint of a benefactor. Tainted are all evil ways in this world, and in the next. But there is a taint worse than all taints. Ignorance is the greatest taint. O medicants, throw off that taint and become taintless. Life is easy to live for a man who is without shame, a crow hero, a mischief maker, an insulting, bold, and wretched fellow. But life is hard to live for a modest man who always looks for what is pure, who is disinterested, quiet, thoughtless, and intelligent. He who destroys life, who speaks untruth, who in this world takes what is not given to him, who goes to another man's wife, and the man who gives himself to drinking intoxicating liquors, he, even in this world, digs up his own root. O man, know this, that the unrestrained are in a bad state. Take care that greediness and vice do not bring thee to grief for a long time. The world gives according to their faith, or according to their pleasure. If a man frets about the food and the drink given to others, he will find no rest either by day or by night. He in whom that feeling is destroyed and taken out with the very root finds rest by day and by night. There is no fire like passion. There is no shark like hatred. There is no snare like folly. There is no torrent like greed. The fault of others is easily perceived, but that of oneself is difficult to perceive. A man winnows his neighbor's faults like chaff, but his own fault he hides, as a cheat hides the bad die from the gambler. If a man looks after the faults of others, and is always inclined to be offended, his own passions will grow, and he is far from the destruction of passions. There is no path through the air. A man is not a samana by outward acts. The world delights in vanity. The Tathagatas, the Buddhas, are free from vanity. There is no path through the air. A man is not a samana by outward acts. No creatures are eternal, but the awakened Buddha are never shaken. carries a matter by violence. No, he who distinguishes both right and wrong, who is learned and leads others, not by violence, but by law and equity, and who is guarded by the law and intelligent. He is called just. A man is not learned because he talks much. He who is patient, free from hatred and fear, he is called learned. A man is not a supporter of the law because he talks much. Even if a man has learned little, but sees the law bodily, he is a supporter of the law, a man who never neglects the law. A man is not an elder because his head is gray. His age may be ripe, but he is called old in vain. He in whom there is truth, virtue, love, restraint, moderation, he who is free from impurity and is wise, he is called an elder. An envious, greedy, dishonest man does not become respectable by means of much talking only, or by the beauty of his complexion. He in whom all this is destroyed and taken out with the very root. He, when freed from hatred and wise, is called respectable. Not by tonsure does an undisciplined man who speaks falsehood become a samana, and a man be a samana who is still held captive by desire and greediness. He who always quiets the evil, whether small or large, he is called a samana, a quiet man, because he has quieted all evil. A man is not a mendicant, bhikshu, simply because he asks others for alms. He who adopts the whole law is a bhikshu, not he who only begs. He who is above good and evil, who is chaste, who with knowledge passes through the world, he indeed is called a bhikshu. A man is not a muni, because he observes silence, mauna, if he is foolish and ignorant, but the wise who, taking the balance, chooses the good and avoids evil, he is a muni, and is a muni thereby. He who in this world weighs both sides is called a muni. A man is not an elect, araya, because he injures living creatures. Because he has pity on all living creatures, therefore is a man called araya. Not only by discipline and vows, not only by much learning, not by entering into a trance, not by sleeping alone, do I earn the happiness of release which no worldling can know. Bhikshu, be not confident as long as thou hast not attained the extinction of desires. The way. The best of ways is the eightfold, the best of truths, the 4 words, the best of virtues, passionlessness, the best of men, he who has eyes to see. This is the way. There is no other that leads to the purifying of intelligence. Go on this way. Everything else is the deceit of Mara, the tempter. If you go on this way, you will make an end of pain. The way was preached by me when I had understood the removal of the thorns in the flesh. You yourself must make an effort. The Tathagatas, Buddhas, are only preachers. The thoughtful who enter the way are freed from the bondage of Mara. All created things perish. He who knows and sees this becomes passive in pain. This is the way to purity. All created things are grief and pain. He who knows and sees this becomes passive in pain. This is the way that leads to purity. All forms are unreal. He who knows and sees this becomes passive in pain. This is the way that leads to purity. He who does does not rouse himself when it is time to rise, who, though young and strong, is full of sloth, whose will and thought are weak, that lazy and idle man will never find the way to knowledge. Watching his speech, well restrained in mind, let a man never commit any wrong with his body. Let a man but keep these 3 roads of action clear, and he will achieve the way which is taught by the wise. Through zeal, knowledge is gotten. Through lack of zeal, knowledge is lost. Let a man who knows this double path of gain and loss thus place himself that knowledge may grow. Cut down the whole forest of lust, not a tree only. Danger comes out of the forest of lust. When you have cut down both the forest of lust and its undergrowth, then, bhikshus, you will be rid of the forest and free. So long as the love of man towards women, even the smallest, is not destroyed, so long is his mind in bondage, as the calf that drinks milk is to its mother. Cut out the love of self, like an autumn lotus, with thy hand. Cherish the road of peace. Nirvana has been shown by Sugata, Buddha. Here I shall dwell in the rain, here in winter and summer. Thus the fool meditates, and does not think of his death. Death comes and carries off that man, praised for his children and flocks, his mind distracted, as a flood carries off a sleeping village. Sons are no help, nor a father, nor relations. There is no help from kinsfolk for one whom death has seized. A wise and good man who knows the meaning of this should quickly clear the way that leads to nirvana. 21. Miscellaneous. If by leaving a small pleasure one sees a great pleasure, let a wise man leave the small pleasure and look to the great. He who, by causing pain to others, wishes to obtain pleasure for himself, he, entangled in the bonds of hatred, will never be free from hatred. What ought to be done is neglected. What ought not to be done is done. The desires of unruly, thoughtless people are always increasing. But they whose whole watchfulness is always directed to their body, who do not follow what ought not to be done, and who steadfastly do what ought to be done, the desires of such watchful and wise people will come to an end. A true Brahmana goes scatheless, though he have killed father and mother, and 2 valiant kings, though he has destroyed a kingdom with all its subjects. A true Brahmana goes scatheless, though he have killed father and mother, and 2 holy kings, and an eminent man besides. The disciples of Gautama, Buddha, are always well awake, and their thoughts day and night are always set on Buddha. The disciples of Gautama are always well awake, and their thoughts day and night are always set on the law. The disciples of Gautama are always well awake, and their thoughts day and night are always set on the church. The disciples of Gautama are always well awake, and their thoughts day and night are always set on their body. The disciples of Gautama are always well awake, and their mind day and night always delights in compassion. The disciples of Gautama are always well awake, and their mind day and night always delights in meditation. It is hard to leave the world to become a friar. It is hard to enjoy the world. Hard is the monastery. Painful are the houses. Painful it is to dwell with equals to share everything in common, and the itinerant mendicant is beset with pain. Therefore let no man be an itinerant mendicant, and he will not be beset with pain. Whatever place a faithful, virtuous, celebrated, and wealthy man chooses, there he is respected. Good people shine from afar, like the snowy mountains. Bad people are not seen, like arrows shot by night. He alone who, without ceasing, practices the duty of sitting alone and sleeping alone, he, subduing himself, will rejoice in the destruction of all desires alone, as if living in a forest. The downward course. He who says what is not goes to hell. He also who, having done a thing, says I have not done it. After death both are equal. They are men with evil deeds in the next world. Many men whose shoulders are covered with the yellow gown are ill-conditioned and unrestrained. Such evildoers by their evil deeds go to hell. Better it would be to swallow a heated iron ball, like flaring fire, than that a bad, unrestrained fellow should live on the charity of the land. Four things does a reckless man gain who covets his neighbor's wife: a bad reputation, an uncomfortable bed, thirdly, punishment, and lastly, hell. There is bad reputation and the evil way to hell. There is the short pleasure of the frightened in the arms of the frightened, and the king imposes heavy punishment. Therefore let no man think of his neighbor's wife. As a grass blade, if badly grasped, cuts the arm, badly practiced asceticism leads to hell. An act carelessly performed, a broken vow, and hesitating obedience to discipline, all this brings no great reward. If anything is to be done, let a man do it. Let him attack it vigorously. A careless pilgrim only scatters the dust of his passions more widely. An evil deed is better left undone, for a man repents of it afterwards. A good deed is better done, for having done it, one does not repent. Like a well-guarded frontier fort, with defenses within and without, so let a man guard himself. Not a moment should escape, for they who allow the right moment to pass suffer pain when they are in hell. They who are ashamed of what they ought not to be ashamed of, and are not ashamed of what they ought to be ashamed of, such men, embracing false doctrines, enter the evil path. They who fear when they ought not to fear, and fear not when they ought to fear, such men, embracing false doctrines, enter the evil path. They who forbid when there is nothing to be forbidden, and forbid not when there is something to be forbidden, such men, embracing false doctrines, enter the evil path. They who know what is forbidden as forbidden, and what is not forbidden as not forbidden, such men, embracing the true doctrine, enter the good path. 23. The elephant. Silently shall I endure abuse as the elephant in battle endures the arrow sent from the bow, for the world is ill-natured. They lead a tamed elephant to battle. The king mounts a tamed elephant. The tamed is the best among men, he who silently endures abuse. Mules are good if tamed, and noble Sindhu horses, and elephants with large tusks. But he who tames himself is better still. For with these animals does no man reach the untrodden country, nirvana, where a tamed man goes on a tamed animal, on his own well-tamed self. The elephant called Dinapalaka, his temples running with sap and difficult to hold, does not eat a morsel when bound. The elephant longs for the elephant grove. If a man becomes fat and a great eater, if he is sleepy and rolls himself about, that fool, like a hog fed on wash, is born again and again. This mind of mine went formerly wandering about as it liked, as it listed, as it pleased, but I shall now hold it in thoroughly, as the rider who holds the hook holds in the furious elephant. Be not thoughtless, watch your thoughts. Draw yourself out of the evil way like an elephant sunk in mud. If a man find a prudent companion who walks with him, is wise and lives soberly, he may walk with him, overcoming all dangers, happy but considerate. If a man find no prudent companion who walks with him, is wise and lives soberly, let him walk alone, like a king who has left his conquered country behind, like an elephant in the forest. It is better to live alone. There is no companionship with a fool. Let a man walk alone. Let him commit no sin, with few wishes, like an elephant in the forest. If an occasion arises, friends are pleasant. Enjoyment is pleasant, whatever be the cause. A good work is pleasant in the hour of death. The giving up of all grief is pleasant. Pleasant in the world is the state of a mother. Pleasant the state of a father. Pleasant the state of a samana. Pleasant the state of a brahmana. Pleasant is virtue lasting to old age. Pleasant is a faith firmly rooted. Pleasant is attainment of intelligence. Pleasant is avoiding of sins. 24. Thirst. The thirst of a thoughtless man grows like a creeper. He runs from life to life like a monkey seeking fruit in the forest. Whomsoever this fierce thirst overcomes,